Hello and welcome back to the Property Pilot. Today we're talking about the best ways to make £3,000 per month in property. Welcome back. So today we're talking about 5 different ways to make £3,000 per month using property and investing in property. Now, these 5 methods, most of them I've done myself, and we're going to spend a couple of minutes on each strategy, break it down into a bit more detail, and maybe if you can choose 2 or 3 of these that maybe resonate with you and you feel that may suit your strengths, that's such a great way to make £3,000 per month in property.
Okay, number 1, the best way to make £3,000 per month in property is through buy-to-let properties. Now, it may sound very obvious, but I'll explain what a buy-to-let property actually is. So it's where we purchase a property and we let it out or we rent it out, and we're banking on that monthly income that we're making. So whatever the rent is, let's put some figures out there. Let's say we're getting £700 per month rent for this property, minus our mortgage, our buy-to-let mortgage, which says £350 per month, minus some contingency and maintenance. We're walking away with £280, £300 per month profit. Now, of course, this depends on what type of mortgage deal and the interest rate you're getting, but these are good numbers to work to. If you're getting good properties and good deals, this can happen in today's market as I film this December 2022. So let's take this one step further, and I've already mentioned this idea and this strategy in previous videos. If we want to make £3,000 per month in property using buy-to-let properties, well, the example I've just given, we're making, say, £300 per month off one property. So obviously we need 10 properties to make roughly £3,000 per month in property, just using the buy-to-let strategy where we buy property and we rent it out. And really what we're concerned about is that monthly cash. Of course, we're going to get capital appreciation in the 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That's great. But our main area that we really want is that monthly income, okay? So the buy-to-let world is, it's not by no means a new world. It's quite simple to get into once you understand the concepts and the strategies and the tactics behind buy-to-let properties, how mortgages work, how finance work, how you're able to scale this buy-to-let journey. So, you can very quickly move from 1 or 2 properties to 10 properties. And I've got a video all about that, how to scale a property portfolio from 1 to 10 properties, and I'll link to it in the description below, so really important to watch. But buy-to-let, it's almost the boring way of investing, but it's a really safe way to invest in property, and it's a way that, all of a sudden, once you've got 10, 20 properties, some serious income that you're generating on a monthly basis. So don't be put off by it just because it's boring. It's actually a great way to make money in property. It's what I really love and a really sustainable way to build a portfolio for yourself. Now let's get back to the office.
Okay, so number 2, second way to make at least £3,000 per month in property is via investing in HMOs, houses of multiple occupation. Now, what is a HMO? A HMO is where you've got a property where 3 or more unrelated people live in the same dwelling, okay? So these are 3 people, they're not related, or 3 or more people not related live in the same house. That's what's classified as a house of multiple occupation. And this typically is where, the easiest example to give is where you've got maybe a group of 4 students living in the same house for that academic year. Okay, they're not related to each other, but they're sharing the house. They've each got a bedroom, but they're sharing the kitchen, they're sharing the bathroom, the lounge, or maybe they've got their own en-suites, something like that. Another example of this is the young professional market. This is the market that I quite like. So where you're renting out the rooms on an individual basis, not on an academic year basis, but on a 6, 12 months contract to an individual. Maybe they're working in the area, they've just finished university and they've got a graduate job somewhere, okay? And maybe you've got 4 or 5 bedrooms in this property and you're renting them all out individually. So there's different tactics on how you can actually successfully carry out the HMO strategy depending on your target market. Are you going for students? Are you going for young professionals? And again, there's other niche markets to focus on as well, but they're the main 2 that I like and I recommend. Now, again, there are different scales how we can do HMOs, okay? So, we can go for an average HMO. Maybe it's a 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's done out to that standard. Or maybe we're going for the upper end of the market. Maybe we're going for a premium HMO, a 9 or 10 out of 10 renovation, a really high standard that will command a really good premium. And you could have students that are willing to pay a premium for this, for several reasons. A, they're getting their student loan and their maintenance loans or grants, so they can afford to pay a higher rent. But also then you may have young professionals who now have a salary, they're on a graduate job, and again they can afford to pay higher rents. And people want to be living in nice standard accommodation, and that's a continuing trend that I've seen in the market in the past 10 years. Now, why is HMO such a good strategy to make at least £3,000 per month? I'll tell you why. HMO properties typically yield a higher return. So they'll give you a higher yield than you would do if you let that exact same property to a family. Okay, and the reason why we do this, why it gives you a high yield, say, is because you're letting out the rooms kind of individually, or you're letting it to more individuals than you would do it on a family, right? So they're willing to pay more. That's absolutely great. And what that means for you as an investor, as someone coming into property, is that you're actually maximizing the cash you're putting into this deal. You're stretching this cash as far as you can. It's got you're maximizing this yield, which means you're getting the best possible chance to make as much money as possible every single month through the rent minus the mortgage. So, how much money can you expect to earn from a HMO? Well, if you've got a 5-bed HMO, you could easily expect to earn net £1,000 per month, once you've paid for your mortgage, once you've paid for your bills, something like that. So, think about this. If you've got one 5-bed HMO making £1,000 profit per month, well, if you've got two more, so you've got 3 HMOs, you're at nearly, say, or around £3,000 per month profit, every single month. Okay, some months will be great, some months won't be so good. Maybe you have to, replace your new boiler, and maybe you've got a bit of void period, something like that. But the nice thing about HMOs is it's going to get you to that £3,000 really quickly, or as quick as possible. Now, there are certain downsides to this. It does take a bit more time to manage a HMO. It's generally a little bit more stressful as a result. But if you're willing to, put in the extra time to manage that HMO and keep letting it out, then of course that's a great way to maximize that £3,000 you're making. Because if you invested the same money into buy-to-lets, what we've just previously spoken about, you're not going to get to that £3,000 level. That being said, though, buy-to-lets are typically normally a little bit easier and take less time. Okay, let's come on to number 3. Again, this is more on a grand scale, so we're slowly kind of working up. But number 1 was buy-to-lets, number 2 is HMO, which is slightly more advanced, say. But number 3, even on the bigger scale, is consider buying a block of flats, a freehold block of flats. For example, I like to talk about the block of flat that I have. There are 11 units in this flat, and this flat actually generates over £60,000 in rent every single year. Now, once you take off all the mortgage costs, the maintenance costs, everything like that, it's just over £30,000 profit every single year. So if you work on the maths, roughly £3,000 a month. So it's a great way, actually, if you've got a lump sum of cash in the bank. Not everyone does, but if you're fortunate enough, for whatever reason, to have a lump sum in the bank, consider putting that cash into a block of flats, deploying that cash into a block of flats, buying that portfolio, and you're kind of buying a ready-made investment. Okay, maybe there's a bit of work you need to be done, maybe you need to refurb a few of the flats, maybe you need to actually let out a few of the flats, I don't know, or it could actually be fully tenanted and there's nothing to do whatsoever. So essentially, the way I see it is you're buying a business. Of course it's a block of flats, and that's what it is, a freehold block of flats, but you're actually buying a cash-flowing business from day one. Property investing can take years to generate £3,000 per month. But if you've got the cash required to buy a block of flats, from day one you can be generating that income that you want to generate. So number 4, let's park these 3 strategies to one side, and let's come on to strategies that actually don't revolve and don't require that much of our own cash. So these last 2 strategies don't require that much cash, but they do require more time. So it all depends how much cash, how much time, and what skills and expertise you have to invest in your property journey. So number 4 is via rent to rent. Now, what is a rent to rent? A rent to rent is where you take on a property from another landlord, you rent it from them on a medium to long-term basis. So this could be 3, 4, 5 years. So the positive of doing this is the landlord has rented this property for, a medium time. They're not going to have any void periods, they don't have to worry about letting it out in a year or so, etc. Okay, so that's really great. Now, you're going to offer them a slightly reduced rent, a slightly lower than market value rent, because what you're saying to them is, right, I'm taking this property from you, I'm going to pay you this fixed amount every single month, irregardless of what happens to the property. If there are maintenance issues, I'm going to pay for that. If there are voids, I'm going to pay for that. You're going to get this month, this money, the exact same money every single month for 3, 4, 5 years, okay? So for you, taking on this property from the landlord, it doesn't actually cost you that much money. You're not buying the property, so you don't have to come up with a deposit. But what you're doing is you're then reletting it, say at market value, or maybe adding some value to the property, maybe spending a little bit of money on the property so you can let it at a slightly higher rate. And again, you can pocket that margin. So it's a great way to get into property if you don't have that much funds, but you've got the time and you know these areas really well, the areas that you're targeting you know absolutely inside out, and you can know what you can achieve per month renting out this property. Now, there are lots of ways how to actually do this. This isn't a strategy that I actually do on a day-to-day basis, but it's really good for those who want to get into the industry that don't have the funds and they've got the time. Okay, last one, number 5, how to make at least £3,000 per month in property is via deal sourcing and deal packaging. Great way to earn some serious commissions, and I'm actually being generous and understating here by saying £3,000 per month. You can make far more than that. You can easily make £5,000 or £6,000 per month doing this, okay? Now this does require time. There's no ifs or buts, it requires time. You're gonna have to put in at least a couple of days a week into doing this to ensure that you're actually getting really good deals that you can pass on to your investors and to other people, okay? So this is where we actually find deals and source deals and package deals on behalf of our investors and other people, okay? So maybe you've got really good relationships with agents and you've negotiated a really good discount that's only available to you, and then you need to find an investor and match this together and make this sale happen. So there's lots of different ways how you can do this. You can simply just be introducing the investor to this deal, or you can be doing the whole process. So you could actually be doing, you're doing everything on behalf of the investor. So, you're doing all the conveyancing, you're arranging for the finance to be done. You're actually doing everything from start to finish. So that investor is investing in this property and is in a hands-off way and pays you a fee for your work and your efforts. So the nice thing about this is, it doesn't require that much of your cash, if any, but it does require your time. So, a great way to get into property if you've got the time to commit to it. So for me, deal sourcing and deal packaging, it's all about relationships. I've been doing this 10 years. I've got really good relationships with agents all over the country in this past 10 years. And because, I've got this long relationship, I've got an established reputation, we've done lots of successful deals in the past, they trust me. They come to me with deals and I'll say, well, is it for me? Great, I'll take it. Or if it's not for me for whatever reason, can I pass this on and just make a small margin? Sometimes I'm not even bothered about making a margin. I just want to help that agent out because I know if I'll help that agent out, they're going to look after me in the long run. Okay, it's a win-win for absolutely everyone involved. So to recap, we've spoken about 5 different strategies on how to make at least £3,000 per month in property. The first is through, standard buy-to-let properties. The second is through investing in HMOs. The third is by acquiring a block of flats. The fourth is by undergoing the rent-to-rent strategy. And the fifth is by deal sourcing and deal packaging. So I hope this video has provided value to you. If you're looking to get into the buy-to-let property, if you're looking to invest in HMOs or blocks of flats, please do feel free to reach out to me. Head to my website www.ms7.uk. I'd love to be able to help you on your journey, okay? So thanks very much for watching, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day.